The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters was originally broadcast on December 16th, 2025.
Welcome to Business Matters, brought to you by the Maui Chamber of Commerce. And now here's your host for the show, the president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, Pam Tumpop. Good morning, Pam. How are you today?
Good morning, Gary. I am wonderful. How are you this morning?
Me too. I'm wonderful. What more could you ask for? You woke up on the right side of the grass.
Amen to that. Sometimes, you always have to be grateful for even the smallest things. And
right.
I'm not saying that's a small thing. That's a big thing that we wake up every morning.
And the grass is on Maui.
That's really important. That's right. Well, thank you so much for all you do for our show, and always appreciate you being there early in the morning to work with us to do this show. So thank you so much.
I like it so much, I'll do it again next week.
Oh, I so appreciate that. We love you.
All right.
Well, good morning, everybody, to Business Matters. This is where we're going to have a lot of fun today, but also talk about issues coming up and how things are moving forward. And we're going to share a little bit about yesterday's Lahaina Harbor reopening. So that is a very wonderful day, something we've been waiting for a while, and we're going to talk with Jim Walsh about that. I'm just going to talk briefly about the passage of Bill 9 and some of the concerns we still have moving forward that we hope get worked out. And then we're going to learn about Mana Insurance Solutions. And right now, everybody's looking for insurance solutions and wanting to know what's happening in the insurance industry. So it's going to be a fun-filled morning of learning and hopefully information that you can use and share with others. But this morning, we're going to start off with Captain Jim Walsh. He is the general manager for Atlantis Submarines. He has been with the company for 38 years. He is an active member of the Maui Economic Recovery Commission, serving on multiple groups, but including the Lahaina Working Group. And today we wanted to talk a little bit about yesterday's Lahaina reopening. Good morning, Jim, and welcome to the show. Aloha.
Hey, Pam. It's great to hear your voice this wonderful morning. How we doing?
I am excellent. How are you doing?
Yeah, as Gary said, it's good to be on the right side of the grass, and it's, I woke up vertical this morning, so that's a good thing.
It is. It is. I'm trying to spend more time in gratitude, so it is a good thing. We'll start with that very basic one, so that we can spend more time in gratitude to first be vertical. It was exciting news. It's been kind of a long time coming. I know you've been such an active member of the Lahaina Harbor Group working on the reopening. And the reopening started yesterday. Please tell us a little bit about the reopening, those who are ready to return, maybe a little bit about those maybe who aren't ready to return, and what it even takes to gear up for reopening your operations.
Well, it was a little bit of an uneventful day yesterday. The harbor was open for that limited reopening, but we have some weather that has rolled in. The Kona weather, we had two basically cold fronts moving through, which kind of came in about last week Friday. And so none of the companies were able to operate yesterday or today for that matter because of the weather. So everybody sort of hunkered down, waiting the weather out. I don't think we'll see any movement until probably the end of the week, sometime maybe Thursday, Friday, before the systems move away enough and we get some calm water again. So unfortunately for that, it was a little bit uneventful for that regard.
Yeah.
To your other questions about the reopening and those ready to return, I think there was 14 companies who were approved to get back going again. Out of those 14, I think there's only I think 2 or 3 that are ready to start probably by the end of December. So there'll only be 2 companies running when this weather breaks, and then Atlantis, hopefully we could get online before the end of the year.
Yeah.
So it's a little slow rollout, which is good. It's nice to get things going in a slow fashion, and we can work out some of the bugs and get everything going smoothly. That's really important, that we get a nice smooth return to operations, and everything goes well.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's critically. I know that's critically important, and I know that it takes a lot to get ready for this. And as you say, some aren't ready, and we were originally, at least when I started sitting in on the Lahaina Harbor group, to reopen, they were talking about 21 being able to reopen. So, maybe if you can share a little bit about what it takes to get ready for just, first we have to reopen the harbor, but what it takes in terms of gearing your company up to be ready and promoting, your activities so that when you are ready and you're open, you've got people there to take advantage of the activities.
Sure. Well, one of the important things is you got to have a boat, and a lot of, there's still folks out there who still don't have vessels yet. So that was a limiting factor on who was ready and who wasn't. Another big factor is staffing. Staffing is super hard to to find right now. After being down for these 2.5 years, staff is limited. Some of the folks that we had have taken on other jobs, and some have moved away, and some moved over to Oahu and Big Island and mainland. So they, our staff has shifted around a little bit, and staffing was a problem before the fires, and certainly after the fire, it's an issue as well. And then the third piece of that probably is the marketing element. There was so much uncertainty about, would the opening happen, and once we got word that yes, it was, then the marketing piece had to come into play and get the word back out that companies are going to be starting again. And the marketing is always challenging. You could spend a lot of money on marketing, and you just want to make sure that your dollars are going in the right direction, into the right places to reap the reward that to get the word out that folks are going to be going again from Lahaina Harbor, and how to get there and where to park, and all of it. It's just a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, it is a slow reopening because there's so many things to navigate. So let's talk about that actually, because part of why this took a little while too is they're still looking at some of the operator considerations like passenger counts, how many people they feel we have capacity for, the parking, and yet I'm also seeing operators being so willing to work together, even looking at how they could adjust their different offering times so as many boating operators can resume operations as possible. Can you share a little bit about that collaboration and some of the challenges as you're talking about passenger counts and parking as you get reestablished, and what's possible at this time, and then hopefully what's possible in the future?
Yeah, I think that initially there was who was all going to start. So there's back to some basics, I suppose. There's 52 commercial permits in Lahaina Harbor. I think there's 36 inside permits, folks that had slips, and then 16 VMEs, which are vessels moored elsewhere. The VME side is the only folks that really were allowed to come back and reopen, because we have to have moorings offshore to be able to put our boats at nighttime, because none of the boats are allowed to stay inside the harbor overnight. So the time frame for the harbor to be open is 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So crews will be allowed access probably by about 7 or so, get the boats ready, come in for an 8 o'clock charter, and we'll run until 6, and then things will be shut down in there again. So everybody's got to move back offshore. So out of all of the boats that were given permission to operate, like I said, there's only going to be 2 boats probably starting this week. So out of those 2 boats, I don't know, maybe they're, and if we come online by the end of the year, maybe just around Christmas time or so, we'll probably be seeing maybe 300 people a day, move through there as far as guests go.
Okay.
So it's not certainly going to be an inundation of people. It's this limited rollout is going to be such that it's going to be a slow rollout, and as boats come online, that'll increase. But that harbor had a capacity of, we never had issues before with all of the boats operating. and sharing the loading dock for various reasons, whether it's fuel and pumping out or, you know, the time slots. You know, we've worked together for decades together. So we're all in this boat together, so to speak. And, you know, we're all looking forward to working with each other and making it all happen. So we're very willing to accommodate one another's needs and work around each other. But there's not going to be any problem for the first couple of months because it's only going to be such a small few amount of boats.
Right. And where are people going to park, and how, you, as you mentioned, you've got to communicate this new parking arrangement?
Yeah, so I think on the county's Office of Recovery website, I think they have some information about parking there. But the county has two lots. One is over at 505 and Front Street, and the other lot is on the corner of Prison and Front. So they're going to open up the road at Prison Street so you could drive in off Honopiilani, come into Prison, and park at that Prison lot would probably be one of the better lots. Also, the Lahaina Restoration has a lot behind the Baldwin House that's been open for quite some time now for the resident community to go surf and fish and have access to the shoreline. So that one has been open for a while. So those are the three lots, and we'll be directing people to get into those lots. And the county is going to have parking ambassadors at those lots as well to help the folks who are parking there, give them some information on where to go and where to stay away from, and communicate a message of just stay on the path and, you know, get people to and from the harbor in a proper fashion.
Yeah, I love that, and I appreciate the county ambassadors helping people navigate how to get right directly to and from. And I know that that's something that we're really trying to be careful for, and still, you know, as we reopen, to make sure that our guests are getting to where they need to be, and it's a smooth and convenient process, especially, you know, as we're moving forward in a slow way until everything's put in place. Let's talk a little bit about, you and I have talked about this at length, and I think we've even mentioned it on the show before, that, you know, we're still trying to really get better economic data, because the economic loss experienced throughout this long period when boating operators could not operate from the harbor has been great. And really there hasn't, I mean, we're trying to do a survey at the Chamber, but there really hasn't been any sort of overarching economic impact study on what that harbor and just all the operators in that harbor and all the guests, and how that also trickled down to other businesses in Lahaina, you know, what that economic impact has been. So if you could share a little bit about that economic impact on a broad level, but also share how challenging it has been just from your perspective from Atlanta Submarines.
Yeah, sure. You know, that is, as you said, seems to be a pretty elusive number. If you think about, you know, the direct impact is probably should be an easier number to put your finger on, because we all, you know, account for what we do on an annual basis, and, you know, we give the state a certain portion of that revenue and so on and so forth. But, you know, that direct impact of the loss these 2.5 years for each company is huge. It's in the tens of millions of dollars, maybe more. And then you also add into that the secondary impacts, the companies that were doing the dinner cruises and the, you know, sunset cruises that had catering, and they're buying their drinks and the alcohol and the soft drinks and snacks and fuel, and for us, there's companies, you know, that ship things in, and all of the other things that make your business work that are secondary impacts to the community is really huge. Like, you might not be involved in a direct tourism-facing industry, like working on one of these boats, as an example, or at a hotel, but you might be, working for Tri-Isle Trucking, and you're shipping gear to us that help supply our businesses. So there's all these secondary impacts that also have loss. You know, a lot of these companies are have a downturn in their business over the past 2.5 years because of all of this as well. So it's sort of a trickle effect. It's more than a trickle, but it's a big cascading effect, if you would, from the direct impact to the secondary impact of economic loss. It's vast. It's huge. And it would be great if they, were able to really put their finger on and come up, some figures that can be shared with the public, because it's a huge loss.
Yeah, well, we've got some. The other thing is that we've been trying to survey the boat operators, as you know, and they're so busy just trying to reestablish their operations at this time and to get some really good impact. There's some detailed surveys we're trying to get so that the numbers we come up with are real, especially on those secondary impacts. So it's looking at a lot of documents, and we saw this when I was working with businesses trying to get the SBA loans. They're hurting, they're going through so much, and to think you have to go through a whole other process to try and get this information. But we're trying, and I think in some cases there's some data, as you point out, we can quickly extrapolate, and that's not really an issue. But the broader economic impact to the businesses and to the ancillary companies takes a little more of a deep dive, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, the legislative session is coming up here in the next couple of months, so
exactly.
We got to gear up. The community's got to gear up for that too, because the state is going to need money to finish the harbor, and there's lots of work to be done in Lahaina, from the land to the sea. So lots to do, and not enough funding to do it all. So, that's another effort that we all have to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we're hoping to get more data from the companies so we can best position our needs in this legislative session, because, as you said, the needs across Hawaii are going to be great. And with federal uncertainty, we've got
if you're a
some
voting
significant
company out there and you're listening to this right now, get your information to Pam.
Please do. You can find it at the chamber. It's just MauiChamber.com. It says voting survey. Please help us, because the help you give us is meant to give you a big return and share at the legislature and share with our state elected officials as well as the county on how important this is. And again, many people, I remember the first legislative session after the wildfires, Western Hawaii Taxpayers Association for decades has talked about Lahaina is a crown jewel that is a significant revenue generator for the state. And because with tourism dollars, they never really separated that out by areas, but they sure got it after the wildfires. They couldn't believe it. And so, without that activity, it was a huge struggle with the state budget as well. So we need to show them, and not just with the harbors, but right now we're really focused on getting that harbor data, because we want to get these boat operators operating and reopen, and helping people see how we need to invest in this area at this time. But if you're in a business, and we also been serving chamber members, we're really trying to help people understand the impact of the visitor industry, as and on all levels that's happening. We've also got the destination management action plans looking at things we can do to keep people out of areas they shouldn't be, and have people understand and be respectful of certain areas. But we also need to understand the economic impacts and the trickle down effects they have. Tell us, Jim. Atlantis. You've had employees that were highly impacted. You've had many of your employees lost not only their homes but their jobs. Share a little bit about, with your company, what some of the immediate and ongoing impacts have been on Atlantis Submarines.
Well, for us, like most companies that were working in the Lahaina area, my staff, about a third of them lost everything, lost their homes, lost cars, lost jobs, lost all of it, lost loved ones. So, we continue to grieve for that. And it's been hard. And for us as a company, it's harder for us today, 2.5 years later, of no revenue and trying to hang on. We sent some of our employees over to Kona, and we sent some over to Oahu, and we were flying them back and forth and putting them up in hotels. And we tried to pay their health care for about a year into this, and with no end in sight, we couldn't continue to do all of that. So it's been very hard on on everybody. And, my staff, everybody that I've been speaking to, they're all looking forward to getting the company up and going again. And, many who don't have other jobs and other commitments right now are excited to come back. And with all of the homes that are going up in Lahaina that you can see being built right now, you can see that life beginning to reemerge. So as people come and can actually take occupancy of their homes, the next part of that is to get them the jobs that they had in Lahaina, whether that be in the harbor or in restaurants and shops, along Front Street. So, we're all looking forward to bringing some life back to that area and giving people some hope again. So it's exciting to see and be part of that.
Yeah. I do also want to mention, because we have heard, and I know you've heard this too, that even some of the companies that aren't boat operators, they have been watching the harbor recovery effort, because when the harbor is operating, when the harbor is open and the boat operators are operating, you're bringing crowds in that then generates other economic activity throughout the town. And so I know for some of the businesses we've heard, well, they're holding tight, kind of waiting for that activity again, because your activity again then translates to increased traffic and activity in their business.
Yeah, sure. I think Lahaina Harbor historically has always been the hub of the town, the center of activity there, and there's a great synergy between the other businesses and restaurants within Lahaina with the harbor. And like you mentioned, as folks come to do tours in Lahaina, they get off their boats and they cruise to the town and they shop and they spend and they enjoy all of that, and vice versa. As other folks come in, Lahaina used to be a destination for people to all come to, so folks would come in and cruise the town and walk through the harbor and see our stuff, our activities, and say, oh, shoot, let's go do that. Let's go do a submarine ride. Let's go do a whale watch. And so there's a great synergy between both the business community as a whole and the harbor community specifically. So, I think as one prospers, we'll all get back to prospering and, again, bring that life back. And hopefully we can, just continue moving in a positive direction here with all of it.
Yeah, I absolutely hope we do. If there was, and again, things are moving forward, and we just need to keep seeing how we can keep moving forward and help, work with those businesses who are struggling to get ready, but help them get ready and work with the state and the county so that when they are ready, everything is, things are more set. It's ready for them to open again with some uncertainty. And as they're trying to, we've got people who could be ready, but we still have to work on some moorings or some other things that we're trying to deal with. So it's still a juggling act, but we're thrilled that the harbor's open. And if aside from money and speeding things up a little bit as we move forward and continued working together with state and county, what else could we do, or what would be your wish that you'd like to see as progress continues as we move into the new year, or anything you'd like to see maybe added or changed at the legislature?
Oh, that's a little bit of a loaded question, I suppose. Yeah, I would just like to see, from a legislative perspective that, they're focused on, that they don't forget about us over here. Sometimes out of sight, out of mind, we have to continue to communicate to our representatives there in that big square building, that our needs here are tremendous and that there are still roadblocks that are happening to the rebuilding process and all of those things that, we could overcome, get our people housing, fix some of the laws that are in place to help businesses, be successful and move forward. And, the last economic indicator had come out, and we're talking about the state of Hawaii going into a mild recession. The ledge has to come up with some stuff to, counteract that and bring back vitality to our state economically, and they have a lot to do over there, and we as the community can help them understand what our needs are, so they can do what they need to do on their end. So harbor specifically, there's a lot to be done in the harbor, and there's not enough money to do it all. So we're going to have to go in and continue to lobby for what we need to make that place whole again. And it's a step-by-step long process. So I'm grateful for being where we're at this point, and yeah, I'd like it to go faster, but we're here. So I say amen to that, and we'll continue to move forward tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we are amen to that. We are grateful that the harbor is reopened. We, as you said, we want to keep moving forward with expansion and get as many operators back operating. But I do want to say to those listening in the public, yes, the UHERO report came out the other day, and we shared it with all of our chamber members as well to let them know it's an important report. I mean, Maui did have they said a 5% increase in the visitor industry, but also if you looked at that on the surface in one area where they kind of did highlights, but further on, it also then detailed that also they contributed a portion of that, not all of it, but a portion of that to again, sort of a rebalance of the loss that we had. So coming back up from some of the great losses that we experienced. So it's not like we had 5% above what we had. It was just a 5% increase from the extreme loss. So some of that was making up that loss, as well as discounts on, some considerable hotel room discounts that had been offered. So it's one of those things that we know, especially with this time, we have a bill on the county level that until it gets fixed, we're looking at revenue declines from short-term rental income, when we have when the bill when we start getting to those when the activation of the 3 and 5 years goes into place, we're going to see some revenue declines, and we're already seeing some declines just because property values and condominiums are tanking with some of the concerns over the short-term rental bill, Bill 9. But the other thing is the state, with what's happening on a national level, is very worried about funding. And, also not only needing to look at recovery efforts and needs of each island, but also looking at funding that they're concerned could be lost in Hawaii. So this is a very challenging time. Somebody was telling me that there was over 30 wars going on across the U.S. That it was reported on the news that, we in Hawaii don't see all of we see the major wars on the news, but we don't see all of the wars on the news. And so it was really interesting to hear that there was that many different wars going on across the globe. So we want to be grateful for what we have and be thankful that we're upright and be thankful that things are moving forward. But we also know in business and in industry that there are people poised and ready to go. So we just need to work together, work with our legislators, work with, our county council, work with our state representatives and senators. In industry, we're always looking for ways that we can be effective and more efficient and better utilize dollars. And so we need to bring those solutions forward, and we need to let people know that we can move forward. There are methods, and we can better use the dollars, and we can leverage that funding, and we've got to get back to addressing the critical needs. And you mentioned housing as well, Jim, which is crucial to all of us, so we keep our ohanas here. So thank you for that. And any last words you'd like to share? It's been just always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, no, I think we covered it. I thank you for having me, and it's always good to chat with you, whether it's over the radio or in person, Pam. So thanks for all the work that you do and the Chamber does for the community in general and the business community as well. So thank you very much, and I'm sure I'm going to see you before the holidays, but have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Bless you. I hope you and Debbie have a Merry Christmas with your family as well, and I treasure you, and thank you for all that you're doing in our community to help businesses, but also I know you're very focused on the harbor, and they're doing an excellent job, as are the boat operators, to see them come together and work so hard to move this forward. They're doing an excellent job, and we're here to support. So thank you so much for that, and I hope you have a blessed day.
You too, Pam. Goodbye.
Thank you. Aloha.
Bye.
Well, aloha, Jim. Goodbye. I just wanted to share a little bit, sort of on that note, but discuss Bill 9. So Bill 9 is the bill on short-term rentals. It passed yesterday, unfortunately, without including the TIG, which is the Temporary Investigative Group recommendations, which was made up of council members. But they did have an opportunity to meet with others who could help educate them on different elements and aspects of the bill that were concerning. And so out of that came some really great recommendations. And we testified, the Maui Chamber of Commerce testified on this bill at every stage, constantly sharing concerns, feeling it was half-baked from the get-go, a needed economic study wasn't done. And there was also, it came out, from the administration, as well as others looking at the bill, that a lot of wraparound legislation was needed really to protect our community and to achieve these goals to the degree that the goals could be achieved, which is making them available for long-term rentals. And we appreciate the work of the TIG and recognize that advancing their recommendations would help reduce the economic impacts that many have touted, including the UHERO report, and help address some of our concerns, not all, but many were then requesting that the TIG, including us, so the TIG's recommendations be implemented first before the timeline on Bill 9 was started, and hope that, they could put those recommendations in with passing so that they would get started on that and get some of these TIG recommendations going so that we could support that if they had done that. Unfortunately, they didn't, and we feel that the economic risk, the job loss gamble, and the harm to local businesses is too high. So we just couldn't support it. And further, there are still key questions on key issues that really haven't been addressed. We need to understand more about some of the units that would be removed from this long-term rental bill, as they're just not suited for them. And there's also units in what they call the Slorexa, which is along the shoreline, that are problematic. So there's so many questions still to be answered. And then we've never really gotten any great answers on how these are being deemed affordable. And are they really going to be affordable given the HOA fees and the special assessments? And it's really critical to address this because now the bill's passed, and a good portion of the public believe this is going to be an affordable rental solution. But nobody's told us what the affordable or attainable, I'm going to use this, we use it in housing, so we're going to use it with the rentals because, again, what can people actually afford? Nobody's really told us with this plan, what are the price points that people can expect to target for a 1, 2, or maybe some, but very few, might have 3-bedroom units. So it's questionable, if these units will be affordable when the public doesn't have all the information. They're just so desperate for housing. They're looking at this, and we understand that critical need. We've been on the forefront of this for decades, and the Chamber's done 2 housing summits in 2017, 2019. And unfortunately, when it comes to legislation, again, with the long history that the Chamber has on these issues, and I've been here for nearly 20 years of decision-making, we've seen some bad decisions, but we've also seen some good decisions recently, especially with getting housing moving forward immediately, like the Ohana units. Those are things that can help. But Bill 9 doesn't put housing in place immediately because there's timelines for phasing out these short-term rentals. And it doesn't meet the needs of many residents who desperately desire housing. So why do I say that? Well, for those who are regular listeners, we did a housing survey, unpaid. They were looking to pay for one, but it didn't move forward. So we said, okay, we're hearing the cries of people for housing. Let's look at what that means. 46% of our housing survey respondents said they want 3 or more bedrooms. That doesn't fit well in the condominiums. 73% said they need 2 or more parking spaces. Very few units have 2 spaces. The majority of them have 1 because visitors come in 1 car. Many of these were built for visitors. So again, you don't have some of those needs. And many of the units do not align with what residents want. 72%, for example, said they want a place of their own. They want their own yard or garden. Some want private balconies. Many needed closet space that just is not going to be available in condominiums. It's not built as a home. It's built for people who aren't bringing everything into these spaces to actually live full time. They're just there for a short time. So for us, the real solution is simple. We have to build our way out of this crisis. What was surprising, actually, at the end, before the vote was taken, was that Council Member Keani Rollins made a comment that really shocked many. I've gotten a few calls on this, saying it would take 50 to 75 years to build 2,200 homes. 50 to 75 years. Okay, so I'm not sure where her information is coming from, so we're definitely wanting to follow up on that. And Alice Lee also questioned her a little bit on that, and it was kind of a vague answer. So we definitely want to learn more about what she's thinking about, because that was put out in the public. And yet it was like, okay, well, is she not talking to or working with Maui's home building community? Because we have been throughout this, and there are a number of home builders who, if they could get the green light on projects, could move forward with a fair amount of homes, many 800 to 1,200 or 1,500 units individually over a few years to get those done, and collectively far exceeding that. But again, it would depend on how we move forward. So I just want the public to understand that what we really need to look at here is, and we've been asking for this consistently, and the public needs to continue to ask for this. Please don't just look at Bill 9 and say, okay, this problem is solved. The problem is not solved. We need to prioritize housing. We need to partner with home builders. We need to get going and expedite the process. The longer we wait, the higher the costs go up. Everybody's heard about tariffs. People well understand we import our building supplies. This is a crisis. And the only way out of this crisis and keep our ohana on Maui so they don't have to move elsewhere is to build them the needed homes here. So please, as we watch this, we're going to watch Bill 9 very closely. We're going to continue to advocate that the TIG recommendations come first, so that we can address the critical issues that would harm our economy. Many businesses are already harmed, and when businesses are harmed, as you've heard from the harbor story, our employees are harmed. This is a time when we need to work together. There are ways to build ourselves out of it, and the longer we believe we can't, the less housing we're going to have. So it's not that we can't, we can, and we need to, we have to. So I really hope people resonate with that message, because we need everything right now, and we've got to get going. So with that, I'm going to introduce our next guest, Chris Branson, who is going to talk to us all about insurance. So let me tell you a little bit about Chris before I welcome him. Chris Branson is the president of Mana Insurance Solutions. He has 5 children and is married to his soulmate. Don't we all love hearing that? That's so exciting. He's been on island for 6 years with his family, and they are grateful to be here every day and to be a part of this wonderful community. And his wife owns a new family psychiatry practice, which I'm so glad to hear, because, again, so many in our community are suffering and need psychiatric help. Just, there's nothing wrong when you're struggling with mental issues to reach out and say, listen, I need help, because, that's how we overcome some of the challenges that we're facing in life. So glad to have Chris on. Good morning, Chris. Welcome to the show. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well, Pam. How about yourself?
I am excellent. Thank you. Well, we have talked for many years, and you have a number of fabulous offerings and options. So can you tell us about some of the options for health insurance coverage for local individuals, their families, and for self-employed contractors who often struggle to find insurance.
Yes, I'd be happy to. And thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it. All of our calls have been about health insurance. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I said it's so glad to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so ACA deadline for January 1st, health insurance, that online individual health insurance was yesterday. There will be another opportunity for individuals who don't have access to employer-sponsored program to sign up by January 1st with a February 1st effective date. But a lot of people don't understand the benefit options that are out there. Most individuals think that if they're not getting it through a company that they have to go to the marketplace and get one of the Affordable Care Act plans, which can be fine. But what people, obviously with the government shutdown and carriers increasing prices across the board on the individual and the worksite benefit side, that was passed on to all of us as consumers, whether we got access to the extended tax subsidies or not. And so the marketplace is really good if somebody needs guarantee issue benefits, they've got medical conditions they need to cover, high prescription usage. They need to go there because it's a guaranteed issue. They have to sign them up. But it is not the only option. HMAA has association plans right now. And if someone owns a small business, even if they're only a single employee business, they can qualify, or they have a good chance of qualifying for one of the 5 association plans. And then they get access to a group benefit. And that's governed by the Hawaii prepaid healthcare law, which means the premiums are going to be lower. The deductibles on their best plan is $100 per person per year instead of $7,500 on one of the ACA PPO plans. So it's low deductibles, low out-of-pocket expenses. They run on the Blue Cross Blue Shield network. They cover naturopathic, really good coverage on the mainland as well. So that's one of the things we've been working on, is helping as many self-employed individuals and families get on that plan, because it's much better. They're saving thousands of dollars a year, still getting really good care. There's also fixed indemnity health plans that pay a set dollar amount to individuals or to the provider, and they can go to any provider that they want. Really good benefits, comes with telemedicine and other things as well. And those plans can save anyone between 30 to 80%. And it's a licensed product. It's not a health share product. It's a licensed insurance product. So that's been very popular as well.
That is huge. It's huge to hear the kind of money that people can be saving on their benefit.
Yes, there's just not a lot of good information out there. And it's one of the reasons why we started our agency last year. It's been open for a little while, but we really went full steam after the wildfires, because you saw what happened with insurance, Pam. There was just so many people, they had no idea what to do, and there was really no strong local support. So that's what we've been doing the last year and a half, is trying to provide as much support, not only for businesses, but also for those individuals, self-employed, those people that just don't know where to turn.
Right. And I, years ago, many years ago, when chambers of commerce had their own, working with different providers, had group plans, it was those independent contractors, those self-employed, that were, desperately in need and were able to be served at that time under the plans. But then in many cases, there were challenges with that in terms of just the demographics that didn't work out. So I'm glad to know that there's such a great another significant and fortified, if you will, or stable option for those people to, if you're self-employed, or an independent contractor, get that insurance a different way. So
absolutely, a lot of people, Pam, just real quick, a lot of people are doing combination plans. If there's one person in the household that absolutely needs an ACA plan, they're getting that person on an ACA plan through the marketplace, and then they're getting everyone else on a more affordable plan and still saving $800 a month or $1,400 a month, and everyone's getting the coverage that they need and is best suited for them.
Yeah, that's really important, because again, in the household, you're going to have different dynamics for different people. So that's fantastic. Tell me a little bit about, I know there's also some life insurance options. Tell us a little bit about life insurance options for small businesses that can help protect their employees, especially with serious medical conditions.
Yeah, well, I've had several family, we have all in our network, we've had friends and family that have been diagnosed with cancer, had a heart attack or stroke, diabetes. And when those type of events or medical situations happen, a lot of times that person becomes uninsurable. And it's very difficult for them to find life insurance, disability, and some of those other products. They only have access to it through a guarantee issue situation. And we are working with a really good carrier right now that is offering a group guarantee issue whole life insurance plan. And whole life insurance, it builds cash value and it builds a death benefit. And the premium stays the same for life. So that's a really good situation. But what's unique about this product is it also comes with a dividend. So the dividend builds the cash value and it builds the death benefit each year. So it's more so a financial tool than it is a life insurance piece. And this carrier is one of the top-rated carriers in the nation. And people own this plan. Even when a company puts this in place, it's free coverage until the application even goes into effect. So if somebody passes away during that time period before the benefits even start, they're still covered under the benefits. So if anybody's interested in that, yeah, please contact us. Come to our website, monoinsuranceSolutions.com. There's a ton of information, but we do free benefit consults. There's no cost for our services. So we help guide people through the entire process, and there's no cost to the policyholder.
That is so exciting to hear. Well, tell us a little bit more about, the work that you've been doing and what their reaction is when they find these new solutions.
Well, I think everything's about alignment, and we're in an age of information where people feel empowered to go out and find the information that they need to make a decision. But the reality is, insurance is almost like taxes. Nobody wants to pay taxes. Nobody wants to make decisions based about insurance until they have to. And so we really want to be a resource because there's so much information out there. It's information overload, trying to figure out what's available here in Hawaii and what do I do if I want to travel to the mainland or somewhere else? What coverage is going to be best for me? And what is allowed here as a small business owner? Can I offer benefits to 1099 or not? Does that change the relationship? There's just so many things to navigate. And I think that's why a lot of companies will go work with a PEO because they're just overwhelmed and they don't have a partner who specializes in that type of stuff. So that's why obviously PEOs are very popular here, so the business owner could just focus on their business while the PEO takes care of everything else. And that's where we come in. We're a partner. We don't cost anything. We work for the business owner or the self-employed individual, just to shop around, find the best benefits possible, and then just present those solutions and then let them make a decision and support them in that decision implementation service going forward.
And for those who don't know what a PEO is, explain the PEO, the Professional Employer Organization. Tell them a little bit about that.
Yeah, and so there's really two different types. There are administrative services where you can just get administrative support for payroll and accounting and, just some of the more administrative pieces. And then there's a full-blown PEO operation that will handle everything. They'll handle insurance, they'll handle paperwork. A lot of times the employees are even leased through a PEO. And so, business owners a lot of times will pay a fee per employee or a fee per service. And so it can be a great situation for some people. It can also be very, very expensive for another business owner who really doesn't need that much help. They just need this or they just need that, and they don't have the manpower to do or the bandwidth to do it themselves.
Right. But now they can come to you and you can help them with the insurance side.
Absolutely. At no cost.
At no cost, which you're right. There is a pass-through as the PEOs, the professional employer organizations, as they're doing that, right? Part of that structure is for the work that they do is based on the level of services they provide, and so that is something that they do have a pass-through on. So that's good to know that you're available at no cost. Well, what else would you like to share with our? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say the carrier is the one that pays us. So anytime there's insurance involved, that's where our compensation is involved. It doesn't add any cost to the client or the policyholder. It's always built into the structure of whatever insurance we're getting. So that's how we get compensated. And we do a lot of pro bono work too. We do a lot of advising, sending people the right way, even if we're not a specialist in something. We always want to help people get what they need And I just, as a community, that's what we need to be doing right now, as the economy is tight and we're rebuilding and growing and, let's tighten things up, get what we need, work together.
Absolutely. And that's what we're all about, right? Aloha and ohana and caring, right? And taking care of each other. So no, that is so important. What else would you love to share, Chris, about just the business or any elements that maybe we didn't get to cover on the show yet?
Just two things real quickly. If someone has any questions, please call us. Our phone number is 808-303-5040. You can go to manainsurancesolutions.com. There's a lot of great information in there. You can schedule appointments with us. We even do scheduled appointments at night and on the weekends whenever possible.
Nice.
But it's a great resource on there. Just a lot of education. We're trying to do as much education as possible. And then the other piece, too, is just to plug my wife's family psychiatry business. There is such a huge need here, and she's just a wonderful person. We're grateful to be connected in this community, and there's really good support right now. There's just not enough support, and so even if someone is looking for a referral to a specific kind of assistance or whatnot, we're connected not only in the local government but also in the private sector, and her company is Pacific Wellness and Family Integrative Psychiatry. So just a slight plug for her, but she's just doing an amazing job. She's been at W-2 pretty much her whole life, and now she's going into that small business world, and she's learning a lot. But it's just amazing to see what she's juggling right now, and being a mom on top of everything else.
Yes, and it's a lot for you both to be parents because you've got 5 children, so you've got your hands full.
Yeah, my 28-year-old, it's his birthday today. So
well, what is your 28-year-old's name?
His name's Nick.
Happy birthday to Nick! Happy 28th birthday, Nick! We're celebrating with you.
Yeah, hopefully he's listening somewhere.
And how old is your youngest?
Maximus is 9.
Oh, so 9. Wow, you've got a spread. That's fantastic. I love it. Well, it's been so great to have you on the show, Chris. Thank you so much. And to all who've been listening, we just wish you a happy holiday season. Let's all work together to continue to move forward. As we look at this UHERO report, let's work on overturning that projection. As we move into maybe a slight recession, let's work harder. Let's work with our community, with our county and our state. Share the concerns that you have. Share ideas. Let's help them build the plans that help us build our way out of this. Mahalo for listening, and blessings and aloha for a beautiful Maui day. Ahui ho.